Welcome to another week or 2 weeks.
Yes, I think it's 2 weeks. Welcome.
We are so excited that folks are responding to our podcast and enjoying our content and our conversation. So we appreciate the support and the continued support. We also would love to hear some feedback from everyone um, when you get a chance and if you have something you'd like to share. So, what's on your mind this week, Cherie?
It's cold.
Yeah.
That's what's on my mind. It's cold, and it's cold outside, and it's cold in this figurative way, like in the way in which people are being treated
Yeah.
as a whole. I was driving in, and even last week, because I couldn't talk, I have a voice and stuff, but I was thinking about how the lack of access to healthcare, the lack of access to food security and housing security is super rampant right now.
Yeah.
And it feels as if there aren't enough people with the means, to care, to
Yeah.
actually support those who are in need. I read an article, and I started telling you about it, didn't finish, but I read an article and it said that right now is the first time in recent history in which there are more people unemployed than there are actual jobs.
Wow. Wow.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to wrap around, to think about all that means, right? Not just my very process driven brain goes to like, oof, what does that mean for the economy? What does that mean for other things? But also for the emotional well-being of our communities, like the morale and the things that maybe we don't measure regularly, right? I can't even imagine starting to say, like, where do we even start to have a conversation about that, right?
Right.
We are at a time in history where we are experiencing so many firsts. And I wish the firsts were like, yes, first in space, or like first to discover the cure for cancer, or
Right.
all these fantastic firsts, but we're hearing first time, right? Like you
Right.
said, where needs are far, far, far outweighing what we have, or I don't know, the first time where systems that, although were unfair, were predictable.
Yes.
We now have new sets of rules on how to navigate systems. That's a first,
And
at
they keep
least for me.
changing.
Oh yeah,
Right? Like
yeah,
the moment you think, okay, we can navigate this, then here's another rule
yeah,
and another and another. And the rules appear to be based off of all the isms, which is also, I was thinking to myself, man, like I thought that I had a good understanding or a good sense of empathy, maybe is
mm,
the word,
mm,
for the experiences of my parents, grandparents, great grandparents, ancestors I've never known.
yeah,
And the way in which they had to navigate a world that did not want them, right? Brought them, but didn't want them,
mm-hmm,
except for their labor. And now, like, we're watching live time, like, for people who aren't active in a way that in which, can bring forth some sort of change.
mm,
Watching live time, people being harmed simply because of their identities.
yeah,
And government sanctioned,
yeah,
and I think that's a piece that a lot of people have forgotten, is that a lot of the horrible periods of time in our history that we reflect on now and read about and talk about, if only this, if people would have, is happening right now, and those times were government sanctioned as well.
yeah. And it's so interesting you say that, Shuri, because I think we should stay a little bit in here because I don't want people to ever think that we ever thought systems were not driven by ists or isms. It's just today, it feels different.
Well, because today, like past periods of time, it's blatant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we've grown up in a time where like this system is treating you this way because of particular identities. We know that, right? And
Yeah.
we've navigated those things. We help people navigate those
Yeah.
things. We try and work to dismantle those things
Yeah.
in the spaces where we can. And then now we're back to,
We're back to websites telling us in black and white, yeah,
yes,
you cannot use a pronoun, you know. We're back to times where in order to get dollars, you're being told you cannot help a brown or black person that's an immigrant.
yes.
Yeah, like in just in black and white, there for everyone to read and see. Yeah. And I don't know if folks who are not experiencing this harm have noticed that difference.
Yeah, I wonder. It seems very difficult to miss it. But to your point,
Yeah.
if
But
you're not experiencing it,
yeah.
but I mean, that is what privilege is, though,
Yeah.
right? It
Completely.
allows you to have the experience of not recognizing the harms that are happening to others.
Yeah. There I think with the tools that we have today looked different than the tools that maybe were of past available to people of past
Or,
generations.
yeah, because you had leaflets and
Yeah.
pamphlets, right? And
Yes.
now you just click in
Yeah.
2.3 seconds or less.
Yeah. And information is moving faster and wider
Hmm.
than it has ever been in our history. Um, and misinformation is moving at 10 times the speed.
Yes. And when you think about how much research it takes to actually look at something, vet it, see if it's from a credible source, how many people are actually doing that? Right? How
Yeah.
many people have the time to actually do that? I mean, if
No.
we're really looking at it, I mean, we're fortunate in that our work requires us to make sure the information that we have is accurate information. And so we're doing those things. But there are so many people every day who are going from one job to the next job to the next, and they're getting these sound bites and bits
Mhm.
of information. And it depends on where they're getting it from,
Mm.
on how that information is being presented, if it's accurate, if it's skewed in some sort of way,
Yeah.
and which way is it skewed.
Yeah. Or who is the trusted source, right? There's a generation that will tell you government is a trusted source. Or I wouldn't even say generation, there are also some people, but um without pausing to question that. And I say this as someone who's lived in countries with so many different types of government. Let me just put it that way. And what I've learned is that it is healthy to question government. And I'm so sad to see that there are some people that have said, no, it's not. It's not healthy anymore because that somehow makes you whatever, un-American, un whatever, pick your country. But it's not. I think it's the highest praise when someone does the work that they need to understand what is being presented to them and then agree or disagree. Because I think when people start being indifferent or don't care or they want to side with the side of harm, they stop that process. But it is also very much a privilege, a thing of privilege to be able to have the ability to question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I was having a conversation with a friend a few days ago. And actually, I say a few days ago, to 2 weeks now, before I
Potato,
lost my voice,
potato.
you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was having this conversation, and it was an interesting conversation because, again, the access to information and
Mm,
people's ability to do things. And um, one of my big frustrations right now in this time period is the number of people in our society who need help, but the number of people who would like to deny them the help because they think they need help because of something that they did or didn't do.
yeah.
right? You know how we were talking about, we've always known that these systems act on the isms, right? Classism is a whole thing, right? We
Yeah.
don't have to have poverty in our society. That's a whole choice. There's enough money within our society for people to not be hungry and for people to not be unhoused. It's a
Mm-hmm.
choice to allow people to be
Mm-hmm.
hungry and unhoused. That's my belief.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. It's a person-made crisis.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so, you know, so this person asked me, well, then what about you? Right? You know how people know a little bit about you. And so they're like, if you made it, then anybody can make it type stuff.
Yes.
And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no, it
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. And I'm not going to let you do that. We're not.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. Because I, I believe that there are different circumstances and points and times when people have different types of resourcing that allow them to get past certain obstacles in their lives,
Yeah.
right? So, even when I think about my own journey, I'm like, I didn't just do it by myself. I didn't have just this thing. People want to argue the thing. You got a thing, everybody needs
The
a thing if they
bootstrap
had the
thing,
thing. Yeah.
the just enough will and enough whatever, this strength, all these things, which we know it's not a true thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, you have this whole argument that is happening about people and their need for support and whether or not they just need to work harder. And I'm like, how much harder we actually want people to have to work?
Yeah.
You know, again, you and I have talked about this, and I believe we shared it here in this space that rest is something that you just get to have.
Hmm. We talked about it in our last podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but we don't want people to be able to rest as a whole in our society, right? We're still saying that there are a few select people who actually deserve it. And
If you're
who,
rich,
yes.
I mean, I don't want to mince words. Yeah.
Well, that's a fact. I
Because
mean,
somehow that wealth, right, means you're better, right? There's a value system. And those that are not that wealthy are not as valued because somehow not wealthy people are doing something wrong.
you're right. And it's so like when you think about that, it's a really obscene thing.
Yeah. Now that we say it out loud, it is.
When you think about
Yeah.
how all of that, particularly generational wealth, was obtained,
Yeah. It's
you
there
want to
is
be
no
like,
fairness. There's no like anything.
it's the
There's
largest
nothing.
form of gaslighting.
Yes, the biggest. It's the man. Tell me about it. It is.
You
It's
all just work
like
harder. What?
yes,
You're where you're at because people were forced to work
yes,
hard,
yes. Because
unpaid
inequity
labor,
exists. Yeah. Nobody's
low
gonna,
paid
yes,
labor,
nobody's gonna say that. Underpaid. Even today, we're underpaid.
Yes.
There's underpaid labor, right? And that's somehow justification is created for why this is, right? And the narratives continue to be that somehow you, if you're not wealthy, are doing something wrong. And I think one of the things that is really interesting is that the last few weeks, right? We're recording this, towards the end of the year, but in the United States, the last few weeks have been filled with headlines and um, about food assistance and what that means, right? And I have read the whole spectrum of thoughts and the very extremes of, burn capitalism down, food should be free for everyone all the time, no matter what. There's that camp of people that are my friends.
Yes.
And then we also have folks who are saying or giving narratives to who is using this support to ensure that they're able to eat. And a lot of harmful misinformation around who has access to these supports, right? To SNAP benefits, EBT, whatever you call it in your area or in your state. And I tell you, it's so disheartening and I'm so saddened by the world that we live in that people will deny other people
Yeah.
the primary need of food. Like we need food to live. We've made food this, yes, it's also a social thing, but if you think about it, without food, we're not living, right?
Right.
And people in a tweet, is it even tweet anymore? I don't know, I'm aging myself here, in an X or in a Facebook post or in an Instagram post or in a TikTok are so willing to write a sentence or two and say, yeah, strip them of that right. So willing without a blink of an eye. More people than I
Thing
would,
we would want to
yeah,
admit, right? Or
than we want to admit for sure.
yeah, because we always knew, have always known that there are people that would deny other people, but the sheer number, I think, is astounding.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not because America doesn't have this resource. We're very resourced for food.
Well, it's this fear that has been created that if they're allowed to have, then somehow I'm going to be without something,
Yeah.
right? So it's the scarcity mindset that has been created, and that narrative is constantly reinforced, right? And the money that the top 1% are getting and holding on to, no one's blinking about that. We're blinking about people who actually need.
Hmm. The majority, right?
Yeah,
In relation to
in relation to,
the
yes,
small minority of wealthy people.
yes,
Um, you know, I fear that sometimes the what feels like such a huge insurmountable problem as leaders, right? And we've talked about this and we also took some action, right? Because I'd love to share that with folks too. What we've what we've known more and more this past at least half a year. We've known always, but been very intentional about this past half a year as
yes,
leaders in our organization. Um, my fear, and this is why I'm glad I have a co-leader, is that when things seem so insurmountable that even any step that we take might seem like, oh, it doesn't even address the problem, right?
yes,
And
and
so then some people or some leaders might be reluctant to do anything because it's like, well, if it doesn't solve everything, why should I do it?
right. And we're not going to solve everything at one time.
Yeah,
Right. And I and
completely.
and I say at one time because a lot of the things that we're talking about are solvable. They just require big solves and a lot of work and a lot of people to make them happen.
Yeah.
But to your point, there are some things that we can do right here, right now, to help those who are in our closest sphere.
Yeah. Yeah. Be it folks we lead, be it folks that are in community with us, um, folks in our family, whoever it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have started this journey as we lead to create a coalition where the judgment of needing a basic need is removed, right? But
Yes.
also striking that balance of saying we are also a workplace, right? So there are limits to what we can do,
Yes.
meaning we can't, you know, buy folks homes.
Correct. We can't.
Not now, maybe down the line.
When you hit the lottery, you plan
when
on
we
hitting the
when we
lottery
get the
soon.
lottery,
You got
yeah.
to play it though.
Right. But we can't do that, right?
Yes.
However, we can understand what the impact of housing insecurity or food insecurity are for folks, for example, that we lead, that are in
Yes.
organizations, you and me and others listening to this. And what does that mean then? right? What does that mean when we decide? What does that look like for them on a day to day? How do we support them without judgment or um, creating a unrealistic expectation, I should
Yeah,
say.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. Because to your point, we are a workplace and there are particular things that we are required to do as employers.
yeah,
And also, there are the things that you and I are talking about right now that are choices that we've
yeah,
opted into doing to support staff that are not a thing that is an expectation
yeah,
everywhere. And I want to be clear about that because every workplace is different. Every
yeah.
workplace has its own culture. I believe in a culture of care with work,
Yes. And
right?
that's
Because
that
otherwise,
balance we talk about.
right,
Yeah,
right? Because otherwise, we're just a social club and we're not going to do
yeah,
anything. And then we need to change everything and just be a club.
right,
But that's not what we are. We're an organization with a mission to actually eliminate the isms of domestic sexual violence and human trafficking in all
hmm
of its forms, right? And with that, we recognize that you have to take care of your people to the
right,
best of your ability with the tools that you have or whatnot, right? Um, and create a community in which the culture of your organization is one in which if I have, I will.
right,
If I need, I can.
right.
There's no shame either way.
Yes, right. And there's also a recognition on that other end, right? Because there's a lot of privilege that is created, right, when the workplace then becomes the provider of basic needs. And checking that power is so critical because it
You
can
done said a
tip easily.
whole mouthful. You
Yes.
done said a whole mouthful. And that is where I appreciate having the ability to share a thought, have a thought partner to process these things out because you don't want to sway that balance. It is a delicate balance. I
hmm
mean, there's already an imbalance naturally.
Right. Yeah,
Uh,
hierarchy.
that
Right.
hierarchy
Completely.
exists. People don't want to talk
Completely.
about it, but it
Yes.
does, right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, there are decisions that we can make, no one else in this organization can make,
hmm
right? And with that, you have to be intentional daily to not misuse that authority.
Yeah. And an intention of kindness can quickly turn into
Right, because
that
we're not,
authority being
yes,
abused.
because
Yeah.
we're not in here to be saviors of
No.
anyone, right?
That's the framing. We have to remind, and we have to remind colleagues of that, right?
Yes,
Like, our job is not to save anyone, it's to care
yes,
and deeply care.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, like many other workplaces, right? We are starting our fiscal year. We looked at it and we are firm believers that putting financial resources behind people is critical, right?
Hmm.
We can talk big talk, but what's your wallet saying about it? You know?
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, am I going to be able to get back and forth to work?
Yeah,
Am I going to be able to pay my water bill?
that's
Water
right.
should be free too, by the way. But
Yeah,
right,
everything should be free. In my world, everything would be free. Yeah.
right. I mean, but there are those basics, right? That those natural resources, those things that
hmm
are just here because the earth is supplying them to us.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, we want to make sure our role is a supportive,
hmm
not a swoop in and save you.
Yeah.
Just a support,
Yeah.
just recognizing right now we are in some tougher times.
Right. That's a good phrase. Tough of tougher. It is already tough. It's tougher when you're not sure what your meal looks like.
Yes.
And and here's also a reminder to folks and ourselves too. Many of maybe people that are listening to us are doing similar work, right, with the same mission to work on ending domestic violence, sexual violence, of human trafficking. some folks may have other missions that are aligned to helping people and supporting people. Yes, those that we serve are experiencing harm for reasons, but those that we lead are also experiencing this harm.
Yes.
And we sometimes forget that we are responsible also for thinking about those that are serving survivors.
Yes. And it's so easy to
Yeah,
do that when you're constantly being bombarded with all of these different changes that you have to adhere to or that are being challenged or you have to figure out navigate or there's no one to talk to
yeah,
because they've all been let go. There all of these things to navigate, right? And you still have to be present for the people that you're leading
yeah,
and the people in your home and the people that are in your community that you're supporting, right? In all of these various places and take care of yourself at the same time. Don't
yeah,
forget you either.
yeah. Oh, we talked about it
Yep.
last podcast a lot. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so, does it mean something when we say we can't solve big things? And I shout out again to my therapist, who I'm hoping is listening because I'm doing the work to say that solving everything doesn't mean you're not making an impact, right? Making small changes, small but meaningful changes, right? Not just superficial changes, does make a difference.
Yes.
And we can be okay with that, right? As we continue to do big systems change work, we can also create a culture within our own workplaces where we're saying, hey, that's not okay. It's not okay that someone has to think about food or shelter or transportation or their family's safety or any of these things and then have to come to work and do this heavy lifting of listening to trauma, supporting people in crisis, all of these things that we do.
Hmm.
And then us say, oh, we're a workplace, so that's actually not our thing. We don't do that. The answer is we don't do that. We do it, but we must do it ethically. And it's meaning find solutions ethically and responsibly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ethically and responsibly. And it's a balance.
Yeah.
It's a huge balance because as we're doing it, to your earlier point, we have to consider there it is a workplace.
Yeah.
Work has to get done, right? Um, and humans come to work.
Yeah.
Where
Not
these are
robots.
right, these are whole people
Yeah.
and we want to consider the whole person. I don't think we could have the type of mission that we have and not consider the whole people that are showing up to help work towards that mission
Mm.
and make it a reality
Yeah.
that it actually happens. And in order to do that, we have to be moving in one accord. And if you're hungry and I'm not, we got a problem.
Yeah. So one of the things that we did is we we took time to listen, to ask people what is helpful.
Yes.
What is helpful? There's a difference, I think. The SNAP thing is a crisis, but also in the hardest of hard times, we think about the hard times and the harder times.
Hmm.
And some of these apply across the board. One of the things that we heard was that really food insecurity, um, and even if I know that if I'm hungry, asking me to do other things or requiring me to do other things is like an uphill.
You already know that is
You
me
might be
fixing
worse.
time.
Your hangry might be worse,
Ye-
but it's not even hangry, right? There's a difference because there's a difference between I just didn't make the time to eat versus accessing food is hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so one of the things that we've we have thought about is how do we, without judgment, have folks have access to food when they are in their workspaces, right?
Hmm.
And we worked on what that looks like in our workplace, what it looks like for someone to be able to be supported in their um, access to hygiene products, um, showers, and things like that. And we've actively worked on that, not just the facilities and the materials themselves, but also the behavior and the culture that makes it okay to come and say, hey, I'm going to hop in a shower because we happen to have a shower here at our in our workplace that's installed, right?
Yes.
Which is a privilege, but so that there's not an automatic connection is, oh, they're showering because there's somehow a hardship, but it doesn't matter why you've decided to come and shower at work. And part of that is modeling, right? For us
Yes.
to be able to go and shower, whether it's because, we've come and we're showering here, we're decided to rest and take a walk or take care of our health and have the
Seriously.
opportunity to shower here. But also, I remember a time, Cherie, where um, what we know is that even when we can access food, having the time to prepare, and ideally, we would love for these meals to be positive for our health. But that takes time, right? It takes effort. So we also encourage, we know we have the facilities and the tools for people to say, hey, I want to plug in my crock pot and in the morning when I come to work and I have a meal for my family when I've
Right.
left for work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no question about when did you plug it in, why did you plug it in, none of these things. And these are helpful things that people have found helpful, um, and have told us they're helpful. But I think more than the material things, it's creating the environment and the culture where people are comfortable engaging in conversation and engaging in the supports.
Yes. Because if you don't create an opportunity or a space where people can say what it is that they're experiencing and they're met without judgment, because that's the
Mm-hmm.
important part, then it's not going to work.
Yeah.
If we had an environment where when people chose to share, they were met with judgment, this wouldn't work. It wouldn't be a thing. It wouldn't matter what we tried to implement because there would be no trust.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the thing we can start today, right, is to have the conversation around, truthfully, around, yep, this impacts not just the people that we serve, but those we lead in the sense of those that are supporting survivors every day. Um, and not judge because we have no space and we should not say, well, we know you're employed. Employment doesn't necessarily equal food security. This is a big myth.
It's a huge myth.
Yeah.
I mean, it, as we had this conversation, as I've had conversations surrounding this topic, I think about the many years in which I was employed with multiple jobs and still food insecure.
Yeah.
You know, me and my daughter were laughing the other day. I was like, I remember when you were just a baby and the electric company came to turn the electricity off.
When do we get to tell those stories? I think my son is
Well,
permanently
she 30
allergic to
now, so.
beans. Okay. He still will not eat beans because beans are, economical. Like you can buy beans and they stretch. He will not touch a bean
You know
today.
what else is economical?
Mm.
Potatoes.
Yes. But I still love potato.
I can make a potato any way you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking about, but I mean, they ate so many potatoes, it wasn't
Yes.
funny. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Yeah, it is. It's I'm sure we can compile. A lot
We
of
can't.
people will have a
But
lot of stories to share, but I
yes,
think we're drifting here,
yes, let's
but
get back to the point.
yeah. Yeah. So I think being able to have frank conversations about it. And then in the long term, address, yes, you're getting a paycheck. What is that paycheck though? And my paycheck, if I have insurmountable debt and 5 people to support, is very different, right?
Yes.
Than if someone has less debt or no debt. And so back to what we believe, right? This is not a thing of looking at things equally, but equitably, right? It has to go back to that.
Equity is key.
Yeah, it has to go back to that. Much of a lot of what we do goes back to equity, the conversations. around equity.
Which takes us back to the beginning of these systems are inequitable.
Yeah.
And we know that.
Yeah.
And right now, it just feels different because the inequities are being said blatantly
Yeah.
out loud
Yeah.
and presented blatantly out loud with no filter. And so it's a different landscape to navigate right now.
Yeah. And so maybe the challenge for folks listening this week is to think through, how are you listening, right, to those that you lead? And do you believe that small but impactful changes um, are important? And can you think of one that you can do in your organization?
And remember that one doesn't have to be monumental
No.
because we don't want to get ourselves caught up in it has to be big or go home.
Right.
It
Right.
doesn't.
Yeah. You can address the issue or even a temporary issue.
Yep.
And then we grow, right? Because systems change work is slow and steady. Well, maybe not. I know you don't like it. You don't like the word.
Don't say it. Oh
Okay.
my gosh, don't
We'll
say it.
talk about it another time. But yes, but systems change work is steady work. It's collaborative work. It's steady work, and it's consistent work.
Yes.
And we see change happening, and as much as in our hearts we want to see all the change happen in a blink of an eye, we also know that that's not the reality, but it doesn't mean we give up on it.
No, we don't. And there are times in which we have to just do a little bit more to force change to happen because it just is not going to just do it.
itself. That's true.
Yep.
That's true. And we'll talk about that because that's a little bit of a bolder conversation. Maybe
Yes, it
in
is.
a couple of podcasts.
Yes.
Stay tuned for that one. Cherie's allergy to to a certain phrase.
A severe one.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We look forward to catching up again in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.